It's 1900 hours GMT. We're live from the News Hub at Adesanwe in Accra. We're streaming worldwide on the internet via 3news.com. This is News 360. I am Solis Rose Corte. Hello, my name is Hisamoni. Stay with us as we bring you the headlines for this edition.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by Deluxipaid.
And coming up, Communications Minister ex-defense $178 million NCA Kelny GVG deal. And also coming up this evening, the Mental Health Authority CEO says that the current state of authority is a threat to national security. And 3 years after the June 3 fire and flood disaster, we bring you the story of a survivor. In business tonight, fuel prices expected to go up by 3% in the first pricing window of June. And later, in international news, Uganda's parliament passes law to impose tax on people using social media. All these and more coming up in the next 60 minutes, including sports and entertainment. Now let's turn to the first story of the night. And scores of clients besieged the offices of the Registrar General's Department in Accra to file their annual tax returns on the last day of the month. But the Registrar General's Department says it will not extend the date if they fail to honor their obligations before the close of day, Thursday, May 31.
The main entrance of the Registrar General's Department was an eyesore. Inside the hall was densely populated with clients ready to file their annual tax returns. Some clients formed long queues awaiting on the staff to serve them. Faces of others who could not stand in the queue appeared frustrated and dejected. Many also thronged the counter of the banking hall to honor payment of their taxes. Public Relations Officer of the Registrar General's Department, Constance Techi, said the department will not extend the dates of registration.
The law gives them up to 31st December, but because of the issue of audited accounts, we gave them 4 more months to be able to sort out the issue of audited accounts with their auditing firms, and by that time they should have been able to do it. Even when it was 30th, we still gave 1 more month. So I think that the Registrar General has been very generous to the public.
She insisted that those who will fail to file their returns after May 31 will be surcharged.
The penalty does not apply to sole proprietors or the one-man businesses. They are not supposed to pay for any penalty. Penalties, however, apply to limited by shares and the limited by guarantee companies. So they are going to pay the 350 cedis after today's deadline. In addition to the mandatory statutory fees that they have to pay, which is 50 cedis for each year that they are in default. So those in the queue that are sole proprietors, they can go home and come back another time and come and pay.
But the frustrated clients criticized the Registrar General's Department for lack of promptness.
Since they said they moved digital, everything could be done online. Even if the payment could be by mobile money, it would have saved us a lot of time. People have to travel all the way from different places just to come and do very simple things here, which is not the best.
But you had from January to have done that, so why did you...
Me, I've been coming every time. Every time you come, meet a lot of people. I think today is even better. So there is no day that is so free that if you come in, you can easily do it and go.
Why then did you wait to the last day?
Yes, you know, Ghanaians, sometimes we like the last minute, but with me, we are from an auditing firm, so we're filing for our clients. So if the clients don't give you the money to come and do it, you can't do it on your own.
Already, some experts have proposed alternative measure to facilitate the payment of tax returns. Vice President Dr. Alhaji Muhammadu Bawumia has directed the Ghana Revenue Authority and the Registrar General's Department for them to develop an app and facilitate the payment of tax returns. But how are these institutions facilitating and collaborating to get the app rolled out?
So we have already sent the company's bill to Cabinet for consideration. So when it moves to Parliament and the bill is finally passed, and then the other halves are taken off like the issue of marriage and industrial properties are, and then this place becomes like the business registry or the company's registry. All those things will certainly come to forth.
The clients are expected to also renew certificates of their businesses, including the filing of their taxes.
Right now, with the 3rd anniversary of the June 3 disaster just around the corner, we're going to take a look at the life of some of the victims. And we start with this story. And her life was turned upside down when disaster struck at the fuel station just next door to her family house at Kwame Nkrumah Circle on June 3, 2015. 3 years later, Auntie Mary, a trader who now sells iced water near the accident site, has nothing but tears to shed as she recalls losing one of her 4 children, an 18-year-old daughter, to the tragedy. Over 150 people died, while hundreds were left with various degrees of injuries. On that fateful day, Auntie Mary, a trader who now sells iced water in front of her now incinerated house, narrated how she jumped from the balcony of a burning building, injuring her left hip. She laments as difficult as losing her home and a daughter was. Her nightmare continued in the aftermath of that day's event.
My wife is Canana, or baby body at the coin, or Mudisi. Into mammy body no coil, crime, a crime, and to me, wounded. Mama 10,000. Tenuana, did be far ambulance. I did be tried that card a year.
It's 10,000 each in she maybe.
The patch of them.
Now, man, almost share and I didn't she ma for
Sanka Bibia.
Mana can no dear.
The patch of Golan and I'm say, Minty me show, said that I'm a show. I'm on the numbers of a side to I'm at it in Crawford. And
see, have an hour, but I have an order.
Minima Kumabako, a be said Joe Diana say. Your tones won't see Sadia Sa. It's me called that a quano of VIP station. And I say, overhead Nasi, it's me dear Kunyasi bench near Dasu.
The assemblyman for the Odorna Sahara area, Kina Hendricks, laments that although many victims were left with physical injuries, the psychological harm caused have not been dealt with. The people you've encountered so far, have any of them been seen by like a counselor or psychologist?
No, nobody. None of them, apart from when they came out from the hospital, none of them has been visited by any psychologist. And that is what they need most, because as they are here, if somebody can see you and be happy, then you know then there is something wrong somewhere. Because when you are not there, you don't know what will happen.
Naomi Nanaya Ejare, Auntie Mary's 18-year-old daughter, told TV3 she is yet to have a good night's sleep following that day's incident.
Sometimes when I'm in class or when we are at the dormitory, when someone shouts or when it's raining, I got scared. And maybe I think something is coming, that's why the person is shouting. So sometimes when I'm even asleep, I go wake. Now my condition is very bad to the extent that I can't even stay in school. So I need their help and their support to support us.
Many victims, like Auntie Mary, feel they have been left to their fate with no hope of respite in sight anytime soon. So Auntie Mary and her daughter, but like a fraction of the victims that suffered that fateful day. And we've been joined in the studio by a champion, I'll call him a champion, and one of the victims. And they're going to be sharing their story. If you probably heard earlier, there was some sort of a peaceful presser that was held at the grounds at Kwame Nkrumah Circle. And we want to know exactly what led to that. So I've been joined in the studio by Hendricks Kina. He's the assemblyman for the Odorna Sahara area, as well as Kasim Suraj, and he is a victim of that particular incident. Good evening, gentlemen. Many thanks for joining us on NEWS360.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting us.
Okay. Now, Hendricks, the first question would go to you. It's been 3 years. Why wait that long before you register publicly your displeasure?
I believe before after the incidents, they were supposed to be taken care of. Since they could not be taken care of, I decided that, look, we have to come out and make sure we register our protests so that they will be taken care of. That is the reason why the third year, as for the third year, we don't want the third year to go overboard. We want to register our protests so that they will be taken care of.
Now, speaking of them being taken care of, it's the first year passed, the second year passed, and then we're just about 3 days to the actual anniversary. From your interaction with some of the victims, what has been the most outstanding problem that they complain about?
Yeah, for instance, you see my brother here, Suraj, Kasim, as he's sitting, if he should go to bed this evening, every 1 hour, he has to wake up and turn before he can sleep again. So every 1 hour, he is on drug. This tramadol that the government is trying to ban from the system, that is what he takes. And if he should take, since morning he has not eaten anything, if he should eat now, that means he's not going to get up from here. And he will be sitting up to now. It is not their fault that they want to be a victim. And I believe that some of them, not him alone, there are a lot of them. 26-year-old guy who has lost, is now impotent. There is one guy who was a driver, now he cannot drive again. When the children see him, they tell him that is Kakai, they are not the father. So a lot of them have different kind of problems that they are going through.
Okay, let me speak to Kasim. And o situation o shre o yere ene oba ene o shre o monkwa and na o sorry wo hospital na ka o say o mu na from that time na se o kan go for na ye mama initial sikani bi and from that time till now no unya mwa bia wo baby mpacho ma no neso kakra ma me
the time na me for hospital me da hospital say 1 year and e discharge me coffee na enche bia na mo friend yeko emi na my 10,000 and do 6 months na scan sign o scan na medical hospital ekoba me call review ya chiro ndro mami ndro na chiro mami nso no point ndro no nkwa ebiwa itegana etende Ghana 600 Ghana scan and do 6 months na scan sign mwana medicine mbani ndi ama kuti asikwa na last year 2017 December November ena me call review mama call review appointment had ewa hasi akatise me samko appointment ayina okay manko ena ndona manko ena ndona ya trotwa mami ntimpondo.
And basically, so far, no unyam boy inferior bia
7 months ni man call review.
Call review for 7 months.
7 months. Because review kwa na doctor baby sami lab na osimi ye ana ndon x-ray na osimi twa obaby sami ndi mko ndon na ochonwa mko na manto nneda.
Ezika mu feel say aban na authorities no omo di muhwamu ana surgeon o feel say
bet makase esa because ebia na mpin for mo ni say ya ebi wo ha omo kire omo ebia met makansa bet isa pese omo hu say yemu wa yemu toy ya nyambo bibri ya dosu mi kiasi apompom dompem ebu ama eyi dompem bi afim ama
into needing more surgery
and suddenly needing surgery bitisi daily dress na me pass nso fin ifim pa na eba ndi mapampam na dompem na yi film ten meti ekomosi mu awodim pa ho se meti okra na no popo ndi ewian so boss ya me fa wiam se a mentimi na because ewia boy committee direct Nti I want so wom so a ntimi. Di still a
me say then now hwehwe sisi.
I chempesa aban ni mpanyifo ombeboy. Okay.
Alright. So Kasim Suraj is saying that he needs help, and just like the other victims like himself, they need money to consistently foot the medical bills that keep pouring in. And he's basically saying that he can't even stand or walk through the sun or even sit in this air-conditioned area for too long, because he has his skull open and parts of his brain is a bit exposed, and that he has a lot of complications from that, just like some of his colleagues who suffered from that fateful day. And so hopefully the authorities in charge who are listening and are watching right now and will do what must be done to help our brothers and sisters who were unfortunate enough to be victims of that day. I've been speaking in studio with Hendrik Skinner. He's the assemblyman for the Odona Sahara area, as well as a victim of the June 3 disaster, Kasim Suraj. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on News 360. All right, so you're still watching News 360. Let's move away and do some other stories. And some women in northern Ghana are telling bitter stories in their quest to get water. In the following report, Eva Atiboka takes us to Gambuga in the northern region, where women and children journey for days in search of water.
They have abandoned their homes. Day and night, women of all ages and children are always on the move. They shoulder the responsibility of finding water for the home.
The water table indication in Myeong is very low. Even those they will get very high. Within 1 or 2 years, it gets so low that the boreholes cannot perform effectively.
The decade-long perennial water scarcity means days of painful treks and sleepless nights and long queues. Alice and her children are returning from their 2-day water search.
We do not sleep at home. We have to keep queuing at the only borehole serving us water. When you sleep, you will not get water.
Women generally are telling bitter and painful stories in their quest to access water. Hannah lost a baby in the water search.
I went to get water to cook for my children. Unfortunately, on my return, my baby has strangled himself to death.
The
women could go for 3 days before they can get water. The saddest is that they fight among themselves.
At the time of our visit, this was the only water for the home. The husband took over the challenge. Dr. Pascal Atengam, a social scientist, links the situation to the rural-urban migration.
24 hours a day, you'd find girls going and women going looking for water. So the boys and the men are sitting at home and waiting for water to drink, waiting for water to bath. Unless we also look at the gender perspective of it, whereby we try to get something to make sure that everybody goes to fetch the water.
The people in northern Ghana say government's One Village, One Dam project to supply them with water is delaying.
Right, you're watching News 360, and on MTN video report, Moses Akurugu reports on an uncompleted office project in the Sechura Afram Plains district of the Ashanti region.
In your view now is the office accommodation block for Sechura Afram Plains District Assembly, one of the districts which was created in 2012. For the past 1.5 years now, nothing seems to be happening in this block. Meanwhile, the assembly is renting and paying huge sum of money every month. One would be wondering why government will not complete this block and use it.
And citizen journalism, giving full meaning there, courtesy MTN. You can also send your video reports via WhatsApp on 055-143-044. That's 055-143-044.
Thanks for staying with us on News 360. Time for business. My name is Nanikia Mensah Brampa. Beginning with tonight, 15 local and international companies have put in bids to construct the Eastern Corridor rail lines. Now, the Railway Development Minister, Joe Garte, noted government has agreed that the 330-kilometer narrow gauge rail project should be financed on a build, operate and transfer basis.
The Railway Development Minister was speaking at the close of tender, which forms part of the second phase of the procurement process. 3 Ghanaian and 12 foreign companies have expressed interest to undertake the project. They include German-France Rail Consortium, Power China, Mars Railway Group, Medase Consortium, RailNet International and Frontline Capital Advisor. The bids will be evaluated and the eligible companies shortlisted based on their track record, financial and technical capacity.
Building the railway network is important for us, but perhaps what is as important, or if not even more important, is the integrity of the process that we use. We want it to be said at the end of the day that we went through a process which was fair and transparent, and which created integrity to the process.
The project would include the financing, construction, operation and maintenance of the line, the provision of rolling stock, station upgrades, signaling and communication equipment.
Our marching instructions to the evaluation committee is that they should consider the group who can execute this project by October 2020, which means that the bid should be strong enough to open up more than one section. The bid should be strong enough to start work immediately we reach financial closure. It should not be a bid where they sign the contract and they now go and search for money. But the people sitting around this table, I'm convinced that October 2020, the President of the Republic, as well as the people of Ghana, will be able to open a train station in Kumasi and receive another train in Kumasi, which hasn't gone there for a long time.
Chief Executive Officer of Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yofi Grant, outlined the relevance of railway development in economic development.
We are also refocusing as a hub for West Africa. Now that comes along with an integrated transportation plan that will integrate railway, road, air and sea. And this component of it is the railway component. We believe that it's indeed instrumental in the development agenda of this country.
The Eastern Corridor rail lines will link Tema, Accra, Koforidua and Kumasi. Government had commenced preparatory works which include the acquisition of land, community mobilization and sensitization to ensure the smooth execution of the project.
Let's talk oil now. And CEO of Tullow Oil PLC, Paul McDade, says Tullow Oil is interested in the new oil blocks of Ghana's coast as part of its plans to consolidate the operations there in the country. And addressing a news conference in Accra, the group CEO said the company has delivered record oil production across the group with particularly good performance from the Jubilee and 10 assets here in the country.
The media briefing on the operations of the company by the group CEO was supported by the newly appointed Managing Director of Tullow Ghana, Kweku Awotri. Paul McDade said following the ITLOS ruling in late 2017 and the approval of the Greater Jubilee Full Field Development Plan, the company is now focusing on growing its production in Ghana. The joint venture partners expect to spend over $500 million of capital in Ghana this year. He announced that production from the first well at 10 is expected to commence early in the second half of the year, and that a second rig is currently being considered by the partnership to further accelerate production and cash flow.
Significant improvements we've made in the financial health of the company have really reduced that debt level. And we find ourselves in a much stronger financial position, and that was demonstrated by the raising of an $800 million bond out in the market, which was heavily supported.
The Energy Ministry said this month it would award 9 new upstream oil blocks for commercial exploration off its coast beginning this year. This Tallow said it's interested in.
I think it's important to say that we as a company, we want to consolidate around 10 and Jubilee and basically increase the production from those areas. And as I mentioned, we have further exploration and appraisal opportunities even within those areas. But we don't want to stop there. We want to keep growing in Ghana, and that's why I say we will be active in the bidding round.
The managing director of Tallow Ghana, Kweku Awotri, said Tallow is delivering stable gas production from both the Jubilee and 10 fields and is making a significant contribution to domestic power generation in the country.
In Jubilee, we produced so far, I mentioned the number, 220 million barrels. That's 20% of what we've discovered and could potentially produce. And in 10, we've produced only 25 million, which is less than 5%. We've already brought in a rig this year. We expect to do about 5 wells per year. We're looking at bringing in a second rig that will accelerate that. And basically, the idea, though, is to do that effectively, efficiently, but develop the pipeline of more reserves.
According to Tallow, it's now in the final stages of the turret remediation project at Jubilee, which is progressing well and expects to rotate the FPSO into its final position by the end of the year.
Right, so wrapping it up on business tonight, not too much on a good note. From Friday, June 1, fuel prices at the various pumps are expected to increase up to about 3% in the first pricing window of the month of June. And this is according to the Institute of Energy Security, IES. They're saying that indicative ex-refining prices for both petrol and diesel are expected to go up depending on the oil marketing companies. And you would want to know that the bulk oil distribution companies have also increased the price they sell to the oil marketing companies by some 7% there. We'll be giving you more detail in subsequent bulletins, but that will do for business tonight. I am Nanikia Mensah Abrampa. Isa has more.
Now let's do some more stories. Thank you, Nanikia Mensah Abrampa. The Minister of Communications, Esla Owusu-Ekufo, has maintained there was no corruption in the deal between Kelvin GVG. And the whole deal cost $178 million between the National Communications Authority and Kelvin GVG. Now, in a statement on the floor of Parliament today, on the floor of Parliament on Thursday, the minister told MPs the transaction was the best so far and gave June 11 as deadline for the telecommunications networks to connect or they face sanctions.
Communications Minister told MPs the contract with Kelvin GVG was to implement the Communications Service Tax Act of 2013 to the letter. The contract, according to Esla Owusu-Ekufo, will be for an initial period of 5 years, renewable for another 5 years subject to certain conditions being met. She said up until now, there has not been any real-time capturing of traffic volumes either by GVG, Suba or AfriWave Ghana Limited.
GVG has also experienced some challenges. They currently operate in Rwanda and Uganda, among other countries, and have been chosen to establish the roaming and traffic exchange platform across Africa. This is the Africa Regional Traffic Exchange and Financial Settlement Platform.
The minister said Kelvin GVG is not a foreign company, but a joint venture between a Ghanaian company registered in 1995 and has 20 years experience.
There has been absolutely no corruption or underhand dealings in this transaction. I can never be party to any such conduct, as I value my reputation and the reputation of the government which serves the good people of Ghana.
Esla Owusu-Ekufo said only 2 telecommunication networks are currently in the process of connecting physically to the common platform and gave June 11 as deadline for those that have not done so or face sanctions.
Meanwhile, both sides of the House were divided over the subject matter during contributions. The minority called for a commission of inquiry to investigate the deal and prayed the Speaker to refer the matter to the Communications Committee for further probing. But that was declined by the Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, if you look at the current scope of the Kelny GVG on one hand, Ministry of Communication, NC on one hand, and Ministry of Finance and the GRA on another hand, it is clear that it has a much wider scope than any previous agreements that we have seen.
Mr. Speaker, let us put on record that in 2013, the Ministry of Communication, through the National Communications Authority, caused an audit of the CDRs to be performed. And that audit led to a fine of $45 million being paid by the telcos. So if anybody is suggesting that the work that had been done from 2009 by GVG, the original GVG, and then by the work that was done subsequently by Suba, there was no value to the state, how come the telcos paid $45 million in 2013? It is not true that Kelvin GVG have been paid $7.5 million up to date. Mr. Speaker, it is also not true that there was no value for money work done on this project. Indeed, there are records of value for money work done, and they can go and check with the PPA or with the Central Tender Review Committee. Mr. Speaker, it is also not true that this was a sole source contract.
Mr. Speaker, very basic questions. Why did you agree to pay Kelvin GVG 30 days after signing a contract? You indicated here that Globe and Vodafone are now being connected as we speak. So what happened yesterday when you were paying them? What happened 2 months ago when you were paying them? You were paying them in anticipation that today Globe and Vodafone will be connected. So that 7.5 million that you paid was in anticipation that you will come and tell us they are now connected.
The minister makes reference to Kelny GVG and states that it is not a foreign company. Mr. Speaker, the GVG, that in 2009, the government of Ghana entered into an agreement with, their name was not GVG, it was Global Voice Group SA. Therefore, Kelny GVG and Global Voice are not the same. They are not the same, and they can never be the same. So if you are to conduct due diligence, your due diligence is to be on Kelny GVG, not Haruna's Global Voice Group of South Africa or Haiti.
Is anybody here doubting what the minister has told us? Are they saying that what the minister is telling us that the company is going to do, they cannot do? If they cannot do that, then the $1.49 million to be paid every month would be unreasonable. We'll then attack it from that angle. I've listened to my colleagues. Thus far, nobody has raised this issue.
Still on this Kelvin GVG issue, which is being fiercely debated in Parliament, General Secretary of the main opposition, National Democratic Congress, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, has also added his voice to the setting up of a commission of inquiry to investigate the Kelvin GVG contract to ensure value for money.
I don't expect that the matters will end here, because the procedure that is being adapted here is a little bit problematic. Because if there are complaints about a contract and you want to go into the details of that contract, this forum of one person, reading a statement and over which no debate can be allowed. It's just a single source information to a captive audience. So I thought that to make what is going to happen here meaningful, I am only praying that the Speaker will refer the statement and the matter to the subject matter committees, the Select Committee on Communication, maybe plus Finance, so they can go into the details of the whole saga.
Now let's take a closer look at the issue regarding fuel prices, which is expected to increase at the various pumps at about 3% in the first pricing window of June.
Based on the standard benchmarks we use, the Standard & Poor's Global Platts analysis, the prices of goods on the international market and Forex, how it has fared from the previous window to the present one, we project an increment of 3%, between 2 to 3% across for this very window for June, the first pricing window for June. Okay, I think it's very important I make this clarification. The 7% figure that is out there is not a figure that we project is coming from the OMCs. This is an ex-refinery price. An ex-refinery increment of 7% is coming from the BDCs, the bulk distributing companies who sell their products to the OMCs. They are increasing their prices by 7% to the OMCs, which is the retail points, which we call the filling stations. And this does not automatically translate into a burden.
And one of our headline stories tonight, Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Authority, Dr. Akwesi Osei, says the current state of the Mental Health Authority is a threat to national security. His comments come on the back of threats from state of psychiatric hospitals across the country to withdraw their services within 2 weeks for lack of funds.
Mental health in the country has received minimal attention in comparison to other conditions in the health sector. The Mental Health Authority has expressed desperation at the imminent vulnerability it will suffer when the contract with its funding partner ends in June. Chief Executive Officer of the Mental Health Authority, Dr. Akwesi Osei, describes the current state of mental health as a threat to national security. He explained that the country risks being in chaos when staff of psychiatric hospitals in the country withdraw their services for the lack of funds.
Because I always consider it as criminal to bring somebody from the streets, somebody who could have been scavenging for food for himself. You bring him to the ward and then you can't feed him. Then release him, let him go and scavenge for food. On a single day, if you are taking, let's say, about 40 patients throughout all the psychiatric hospitals, and because we can't admit them, and these are patients who are really aggressive, violent, can be homicidal, can be a threat to other people, and we can't admit them because of logistic challenges, financial challenges, then it becomes a national security threat. So I want us all to recognize that it's not just a Ministry of Health issue, but it's a national security issue.
Dr. Osei, who received a donation from Heart for Disability NGO, urged other well-meaning Ghanaians to save the situation. Public Relations Officer of the NGO, Samuel Ej Bafo, explained they were hurt by the plight of the Mental Health Authority.
Looking at the way the health, mental, and then the people who are disabilities for the general, the way they are suffering, we took it upon our shoulders to help these people, to support them with the needs. So we came to agreement that we will come as an NGO which will be supporting people with disability with all kinds as a whole of personal physical disabilities. So the organization is there to help those who are physically challenged and then those who are in need as a whole.
In a moment, it will be time for sports with Thierry Nyan. Now let's do some international news. And Uganda's parliament has passed a law to impose a controversial tax on people using social media platforms. It imposes a 200 shilling, that's $0.5, daily levy on people using internet messaging platforms like Facebook, WhatsApp, Viber, and Twitter. President Yoweri Museveni had pushed for the changes, arguing that social media encourage gossip. The law should come into effect on 1st July, but there remain doubts about how it will be implemented.
Right, in other international news, the Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy is likely to be forced out of office after a key party said it would support a motion of no confidence against him. The no confidence vote is scheduled to take place on Friday and was tabled by the Socialist Opposition Party in Spain. Well, we'll take a quick break. We'll return with some entertainment news with Miriam.
Hello there, good evening. Let's do some entertainment news here on News360. So you know the music business dialogue took place today at the Executive Theatre of TV3. Now the question we asked is, how can creative artists make the best of opportunities that exist within the arts industry? Creators have been urged to engage the right professionals to market and distribute their works. Addressing a music business dialogue, speakers again called for proper orientation, investment and legislation to ensure creative arts are well compensated for their works.
Ghana Tourism Authority and the Tourism Arts and Culture Ministry, the seminar provided insights on how owners of creative works can maximize their potentials and make the best of opportunities within the sector. Showbiz analyst and manager of MG Digital, Francis Doku, called for an end to the practice of engaging inexperienced friends as managers and promoters. He wants the right professionals to be engaged.
But I think there's a need for us to understand, the creative people, to understand that there are people who can help them, be able to do what they do. By that, I mean that there should be some way that they will rely on managers, agents, and people who would help promote their work in order for it to get to where it should. Other things that we haven't been able to do also is to collaborations beyond just our individual work and how to look at how to collaborate with people in other parts of the continent.
General Manager of Mobile Content, Conrad Nur, charged creators to take full advantage of the opportunities technology presents to reach bigger markets. He is convinced showbiz is a multi-million-dollar industry, calling for the right policies and structures to adequately reward practitioners. CEO of Ohini Media, Abraham Ohini Jan, has worked with many top Ghanaian musicians and organizations, monetizing their content for them.
Artists do make money online. The big ones make, quite a decent amount of money online. But it requires input. You can't just put a video there and then expect for it to make money. Sometimes you have to advertise it. You have to, you have to spend a little money to get the views, to get it trending so that people will go onto your channel and watch it.
Reggie, a member of music duo Reggie and Bolly, underscored the need for musicians to engage promoters if they are to make inroads.
And that's about it for entertainment. There's more news on the 3news.com website. You can catch me on the Urban Blend on 3FM 92.7 tomorrow at 10. Isa, Solis?
Well, that's it for News 360. But before we leave, a recap of our headlines.
And Communications Minister defends $178 million NCA Kevni GVG deal.
And the Mental Health Authority CEO says the current state of the authority is a threat to national security.
And we also brought you a story of a survivor of the June 3 fire and flood disaster. That's all time we'll have for this edition of News 360. Definitely will bring you some more stories in subsequent bulletins. My name is Isa Voni.
And I'm Solis Rose Quarter. Many thanks for joining us. Good evening.